Come on! Everyone, Drew Cisek on the podcast today. Probably recognize the last name of number one player in the world, Tyler Ciseck. Drew, what's going on?
Yes. Nothing. Just, working right now. I'm a teacher. So I'm back to work and things are a little different here. So,
Yeah,
I got to get used. Okay.
how's that all been going?
Well, I'm a kindergarten teacher, so it's tough because in kindergarten the kids need to socialize and, interact with each other. And right now they're 6 feet apart. We usually have tables where we sit across from each other and next to each other and sort of interact. Now they're at desks and 6 feet apart. They have to wear the masks. I have to wear mine. No playtime because that would be sort of like touching other things other people have touched.
Jeez.
Things like those. It's a little tough, but the kids are good. They're not complaining about the mask, so everything's good. Back to work. I'm hoping that we go back to 5 days soon. Right now we have actually half the class is going on Monday and Tuesday, the other half on Thursday and Friday, and then the other 3 days they're virtual days.
Okay.
But I think in early October they're planning on going back to 5 days. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually super interesting because Kathy's niece is also in kindergarten, and she's doing 100% remote right now.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many unique challenges with that. I mean, you were talking about the whole socialization aspect of especially kids at that age. Like you want them to be engaging with other students and interacting, and like a lot of the skills that you're teaching are like life skills and not really just colors and shapes and all that stuff too.
Right.
And
yeah.
so it's a lot harder to do that when the kids can't interact with each other, and then let alone it's just hard to maintain kids
Attention.
attention. Her niece is definitely not the most attentive kid in the world, and so she's always getting distracted by she's always coloring something on the side, or she's in her bedroom, so she just like picks up a toy and starts playing with it, and so
it's really tough. I mean, besides the fact that I don't think the kids get as much from the virtual.
Right.
So they're in school right now. They're in school 2 days and virtual 3 days. It really is better for them to be in school for the 5 days because they don't get as much no matter how much you try. It's tough teaching 4 and 5 year olds over the internet with like a bunch of other kids there, so.
Yeah, for sure. Now, like this in-person stuff is going like pretty well, you were saying? Like
It is. I mean, right now the class is actually less than half the size because usually I have around 22 and now I have only 15 because some of the kids chose to go only virtual because our district gave them the option. Right. So I only have 15 and that's split between, first half of the week and second half. So much less kids. So it's not tough at all, but it's not good for the kids because they're really not getting to do what they really need to do, which is socialize. And, even if it's working at the same table and working on something with each other, not just playing, it's still they're working with each other. And now they're just, in your seat, that one's in that desk, that one's in that desk.
Right. So. I mean, is there even a like better option at this point though? Like, I mean, once you get to 15 kids, I mean, 15 seems manageable. There's so many school districts where like, 15 kids in a classroom is just, very low. A lot of them have 40. So like, how do you do it?
Right now, first of all, right now I have half my class. So I have 9 the first 2 days and 6 the end of the week. I had 6 kids today. So I will have, if we start in early October with the full 5 days, I'll only have the 15, not the ones that are going virtual. So I'll have 15, which is lower than I've ever had. And, they're captive. They have to stay at their desks. It's not even like they could before if you were teaching them and you're reading them a book on the carpet, this one's touching that one. This one's like looking all around. So they're they're at their desk sort of staring at you. So, it's easy for me. It's just not great for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, what do you think, like, the impacts of this are, like, long term? I mean, obviously, we hope that this is kind of the only school year that's going to be affected. We hope it doesn't go on too much longer here, but, can some of this stuff get made up, later down the road, or is this just going to kind of set them back for a while?
I don't think so. Like right now, the kids are not complaining. First of all, like, oh, I have this mask on, I need to take it off. they're not complaining at all. It's sort of like second nature now. They're used to it.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's kindergarten. They do learn, letters and numbers and how to read and write and things like that in kindergarten. But I'm thinking that if they were in the older grades, let's say third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, where they're covering a lot of like heavier material and they're doing it online instead of in person, and they're missing a lot. I mean, that could impact them. But as far as I don't think, if this is over in 1 year and next year they're back to normal, I don't think they're going to be thinking of this year in such a terrible way, and I don't think it's going to impact them. But it would be better if they were socializing more, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we certainly hope that things will get back to normal next year, and not just in schools, but also in Roundnet. I mean, how has not being a full-time Spike dad been for the 2020 season? I'm sure that's a big shift for you, just like it was a
Yeah,
big shift for me not playing.
yeah. I mean, I went to many tournaments each year. Since I guess 2014, but had more time for other things. I mean, I do miss the crowd. I do miss the family and seeing the spike ball friends and things like that. But this year has been more on just doing other things.
Right.
And I really, tell you the truth, I really haven't been. I know they've had tournaments which aren't SRA tournaments, but they've had the tournaments, and I really haven't watched that much. I might have watched like pieces of like one or two tournaments, even though they did do a good job with the streaming. I thought they did a really great job with a lot of the tournaments. And when I went on, I watched it for a while, but then I was like, I don't know why. I mean, I like spike ball. I love spike ball. I love going to the tournaments, but I'm not sure why. I sort of like haven't watched a lot of the tournaments. The ones I've seen, there's some new talent.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There is just like a whole world out there that like we're not experiencing by not traveling and stuff like that. There's been new players kind of coming up through that, and I'm conflicted about it too, because like part of me wants to celebrate something like that. I'm celebrating anyone that's kind of grinding at this point, but I also don't want like I don't want to celebrate all these massive get-togethers and stuff like that either. I know some of these tournaments have been spotty at best with taking precautions or enforcing the precautions that they say that they're taking. So it's been tough. It's been tough for me to watch it. Like part of me has been like if I don't watch it, it's easier to not feel like the FOMO that I would have. But a part of me is like, I need to know what's going on and I need to see what people are doing. So I've definitely tuned in and,
Yeah,
picked up on some matches that I felt like I like couldn't miss or anything like that. It's been
yeah.
nice that people have kind of stepped up and started, streaming on mobile, and, that's become a little bit more ubiquitous now. I mean, if you remember, 3 years ago, we were begging people to put up a Periscope that would,
Yeah, yep,
at like 17 frames a second or whatever, you could barely tell what was
yeah.
going on. It looked horrible. But we were just like, please give us something. And now, the technology's kind of met us a little bit. And,
Oh,
um,
it's I think it's even so much better than the year before. I mean,
mhm.
I went to a lot of tournaments the year before, and some of them I couldn't make, so I watched, and it was spotty. It was they did their best with what they had, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing this year, but there's some pretty good streams. Like I said, I haven't watched many, but the ones I've watched, and they're clean and just they're not really breaking up, and yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
You know?
no, no, that's been, I mean, yeah, that's been a huge upgrade, and I'm happy to see that because some of our growth is going to have to be in this online space, and I think that, I think this kind of drives a little bit hand in hand with the narrative of everyone saying that like, we have to change the rules, we have to be thinking about spectators. I think, one thing that's really important is bringing quality to spectators and not even just, worrying about our game, but just something that's actually watchable. And some of that has to do
Yeah.
with, having something that's not lagging out, having commentators, having a scoreboard or at least like frequent score checks that are accurate, and managing that time between points and giving some content there, which I think is really important with having all the commentators. And you're seeing that become a lot more ubiquitous even with these phone streams and stuff like that. I think Spikeball raising their streaming bar last year really helped, and kind of showed people the way. And then, I think people have just taken this time to kind of look into what it actually takes in order to stream. And, everyone's got a little bit of a better phone in their life probably than they did before.
Yeah.
capable of actually
Well,
doing it. And it's crazy. Like I can stream in 1080p on my iPhone. It's wild.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, even pictures that you take. I mean, I have, me with my camera, not my video camera, just a regular camera, and
mhm.
we go out, and my wife has her new iPhone, and I didn't get the upgrade yet, and she takes pictures with that, and I take pictures with my camera, and her pictures most of the time are better. It's just like because mine is just a lot of like I have to figure out what settings and stuff, and the phone just does it all, and
Mhm.
yeah, really good. So yeah, I mean, it's good that they have the streaming going on.
Yeah, no, it's been it's certainly been cool to see. And like speaking of, recording all these matches and stuff like that, you were one of the first people to really be recording these matches in mass, and actually not just keeping them for yourself, but publishing them. So, like the Drew Cisek YouTube channel was one of the first places to go for quality, Roundnet matches. And I kind of know what your setup was, but just for everyone else, can you explain, especially like in 2016 or 2017, like what did your whole setup look like recording for the day and your uploading and all of
I mean,
that?
it wasn't hard doing it because I was going to the tournaments anyway, and well, in the beginning, the first one I went to probably and recorded was the first summer spike,
Hmm.
and all I had was one. It was like a Sony Handycam little thing, and I had no tripod, so it was like my two sons were so it was like going back and forth over here, over there, and it's pretty far away. So the video, well, I didn't have much of it, and it wasn't that great. And then after that, the first nationals, still handheld, so just one little handy cam and just recording it. And then when I got home, I'm like, all right, I guess I'll upload them somehow. So I figured out how to upload them to YouTube. And then after that, I started taping more games because in the beginning it was pretty much whatever Cameron or Tyler were in
Right.
because like I used to tape their soccer games and track meets and whatever basketball games. So now I'm like, all right, there's a new sport they're in, so I'll tape them. And then I realized, there are a lot of people out there that want to watch, the spike ball matches that even, other ones that I wouldn't be taping normally. So I got another handycam. So I had like two of them and I got the tripods. So now I have like one going on here, one going on over there. And like try to get the good matches that people would want and just upload them. I mean, on YouTube, it's pretty easy to just, put the memory stick in my computer and just upload them and name them whatever the team's names are. And that's pretty much it. So, I just started doing that and it wasn't, I mean, I'm there anyway. So, it was pretty easy. It was good. A lot of people liked them. And actually it's funny because my wife would laugh when I'd be at a tournament and so like, wait, are you Drew Cisek? It was just seemed really weird. I'm like, yeah, I watch all your videos. Thank you very much. And I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it's happened a handful of times, and it's just funny when it does. So I'm glad they enjoyed watching them. So now this year for Christmas, I got, or last year for Christmas, I got a GoPro, and I got it sort of for I was going to go on a trip to Italy, and never happened. But I'm like, I could use it for the spike ball tournaments also. Well, I didn't use it for Italy or spike ball, so it's new. It's sitting around. So one of these days, maybe I'll get to use it. But like you were saying with the cell phones, I saw a lot of things that the Dantuits were posting, and I was posting my videos with well, I'm thinking a good, a real like video camera, not just a phone that has a video camera on it. And theirs were much better than mine. The clarity and stuff like that were much better. So, yeah, I don't even know how many I'll be taping in the future because so many people have the cameras. And even next year, if I start going to the tournaments again, it just seems like everyone's got the cameras, everyone's taping them and posting them, and they're even better than my video cameras. So
Yeah, well, one, I mean, I think you were a little too humble there for sure. I mean, I think what you proved is that like the people really came to value having this mass database of all these matches that you could go back and reference and watch. And you'd think 2 years later like, oh, you remember that match? And then they'd be like, oh, we could go back and watch it. But before, everything was so fragmented everywhere, and it was like, there were some clips on some Instagrams, and there was maybe a full match on YouTube, like someone posted one of it or just a highlight reel, but you couldn't actually go back and like watch a whole series. And like, yeah, sure, you were at the tournament, but so was everyone else. And we just didn't bring cameras, or we were trying to do it on our phones, but we didn't have enough storage on there, or if we streamed it, it looked horrible. And so then the quality wasn't even worth reposting. And yeah, I mean, I think you just proved value of it. And I mean, I watched you during those tournaments, like especially with the two of them. Like you were running back and forth, and then you'd forget that, like you'd be like, "Oh shoot, that match is over," and then you could run over and then start doing it. And I think at the time when you were uploading, I think YouTube, for people that have under 1,000 subscribers, only let you post videos that were like 12 minutes long. So you had to like parcel those into multiple posts, I'm sure too, because
No, I don't know. I don't remember ever having to. No, I don't think so. 'Cause I
really?
had definitely no, not at all. I had definitely like games that were much longer than that. That I put up there. I never really had a problem posting anything.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I always, yeah, maybe I'm thinking of Ezra's channel, but I always remember it would be like, game one, part one, and then it'd be game two, part two, and it'd be like the last 4 minutes or something like that.
The only time I did that, I had a couple of games that were really long, and I think my video camera, for some reason, even though there's much more room on the memory card, it would stop at 23 minutes, and I don't know what, and it wasn't. I don't know how to change it. It just 23 minutes it would stop, but it would start right again. But now I have like some of those matches that are like 40 something to 40 something, and it's like now we have to splice them together or just post them first and second half. But that was only because my video camera stopped at like 23 minutes for the really long, matches.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes that. I mean, that makes sense too. I remember my old camcorder. I mean, this was, it got to be a camcorder 10 years older than you, but it would do the same thing where like it would hit a limit and be like, one file can only be this big. So like, yeah, I guess at 23 minutes, it just kind of decided that. But then like uploading these, like it seemed like you'd be uploading for like an entire week. Did you have to like do them one by one, or could you batch them?
Yeah, I didn't. No, I did it. I did it one by one. I wasn't sure. I think I tried one time to do more and just. Well, first of all, I mean, I have a newer computer now, but it was on an old computer, and yeah, you could only do one at a time, and they would go slowly sometimes. So I have to do it, and then rename it, and then go over and do another one, things like that.
Yeah.
But I was remembering, like you were talking about, like going back and forth, and when you would like run out of space on either your memory card or in the beginning, I had like 2 batteries, and like one for each camera, and then I was like, all right, let me get one extra for each one. And then I wound up with like batteries, I think, like now I have. And I think that the turning point was, remember that one rally that I guess the rookies had, the one in the beginning that everyone said, oh, the best rally ever. Or whatever.
Oh, in Lancaster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get that one because I ran out of, none of that is mine, even though there's 2 versions of it. But I was taping all the games, and that was like the last game or something like that of the series. And my battery ran out in like the second game, when they went to game 3. I'm like, I can't get the last game. I can't believe this. And luckily, someone else had 2 other people had video of that. But I mean, we could have had a third. But yeah, so then I'm like, all right, I need more batteries. So after that, I started got some more batteries.
Oh man, I had no idea that you wound up missing that. That's crazy. That might be like the only point you like didn't record, because you recorded just so many other ones. And again, I just think you're selling yourself short. Like nobody else in the community, literally no one, was willing to sit there and record all these things and then individually name them and then individually upload them on slow internet connections and all this stuff. Like it is a lot of work. And like I think that I do think you kind of broke ground that way in terms of like proving that people wanted mass amounts of content like this and wanted to be able to watch them in large form. And I think that's cool because like I was saying before, like we literally just had clips before, and you didn't get to see the arc of an entire day or watch the pacing of an entire series. And there are so many people that came up a year ago, last year even, that reference oh, I watched all the videos of Tyler Ciseck on Drew's channel, like that was how I got better. Like I studied that film. Like that film like found its way into the hands of a lot of people, and I just think that's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So how have things been different from the early years? You started having both your sons playing, right. And then Cam kind of took a little bit more of a back seat. I know he still plays, but a lot less competitively. Doesn't really travel for it anymore. How big of a change was that when you didn't have, weekend warriors and the rookies to follow around anymore, and you just had Ty and PJ eventually?
It was pretty much the same. I mean, it would have been nice having Cameron there because my wife goes to all the tournaments with me and like having all four of us there or whatever. But it was the same. I still still very exciting going there. It would have been nice seeing Cameron there too. But he went another direction, had other things to do, and he still likes it. He still plays with when they have pickup with Ryan and Anthony and other people around the island, but not crazy like he was. He sort of like fell off. But still exciting. Still seeing the same people. Meeting so many people over the years, and just making some great friends. And it was great. Even if it was just, if it was Tyler and PJ and whoever else was there, I'm still taping the games and still enjoying it. It was great.
Yeah, no, for sure. Speaking of people that you kind of meet along the way, you were one of the first people to inspire the Spike Dad and Spike Mom shirt. It was you and your wife, and then the Whites and the Hex were kind of the originals there. You guys, were the original Spike parents. Have you gotten the opportunity to meet like a bunch of other parents, being on the sidelines and stuff like that?
Not okay.
Or has it just been mostly players? I mean, you're so integrated into our scene at this point that I'm sure the players are coming up to talk to you as well. Whereas like my parents stick to talking to all the other parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely the players. Obviously, I know many players and and as good friends. But the parents, obviously the Hex and the Whites, and there are other parents that I've spoken to, like whether PJ's parents or Annalise's parents, and other parents that are there. But I don't really know them well, like I know the Hex and the Whites, And
I mean they're so ingrained in the community. Like I feel like I know.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I know that Mama Heck and Papa Heck better than I know a lot of the other players in the scene as well.
Yeah.
Just they're so integrated in the community, and you guys are all the parents that really like invite the kids into your homes, which is just incredible. So one, thank you for that, and big thank you for the entire community for doing that. How have all those like experiences just been for you? I mean, I'm sure you've had 20 kids staying in your house at a time. Like, did you kind of think that was the direction you were going to be going? Past the early birthdays and stuff like that, where you'd invite a whole class over or whatever.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. I mean, I didn't even think in the beginning when Tyler first started playing with Ryan. The first tournament what they really went to was the Summer Spike, the first one, and they were playing the game around the yard and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh, we're gonna go," because they were still young, and they're like, "We're gonna go to a tournament. You wanna drive us there or come with us to the tournament?" I'm like, "Oh, they have tournaments for this? Like, I know they have tournaments for this." I said, "Where is it?" They're like, over in Coney Island, which is like an hour from our house. I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're driving? You want us to drive an hour for this little game that you're playing in the yard? Well, you want us to go there, an hour, drive you there?" And it's like, yeah, it's a big thing. I'm like, all right. And then like years later, we're going to, California and Canada and you name it, like we're going there. So it was really strange how we went from that small thing to, such a big thing. And we, like I said, in the beginning it was like, oh wait, we're going an hour to go there. And then finally when they had the first nationals, we're going to Santa Monica for national. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how are we getting there? And how am I going? I work. Like, well, you could go on Friday and come back on Sunday. I'm like, all right, now we're the people that fly to California for the weekend. I'm like, that's crazy. It's like, it was ridiculous. But then it became, that was our life for years. But as far as having people over, I think it was great. They're always respectful and great people. I mean, the spikeball community, is just they're awesome people. But the worst thing I think was worried that they weren't going to make it to the tournament because most of them came over our house for the Summer Spike, which is an hour away. And I guess compared to where they lived, whether it was people from Lancaster or people from California or people from Chicago, it's a lot closer than they were. So they're like, all right, it's an hour. That's not bad. So I was like, all right. But I just worried that they wouldn't get there. And they had 1 year, a couple of years back, where it poured all morning long,
Mm-hmm.
and the parkways were flooded and they were like closed. There's like one road from here, like Southern State Parkway and Belt Parkway, going to over to Coney Island, and it was flooded. And we had, obviously Tyler and PJ, but we had Preston going from here, and it's like they're gonna be late. They're gonna be late, and like they had to go. Like we got there. They were saying finishing the announcement. All right, let's get out there and do pool play, and like we're walking up, and that's not the way you want to do it. So it was a little nerve wracking, whether wondering or worrying that they wouldn't get there on time, but no, it's great having the people over. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I love that that's your main concern because I think there's a swath of parents across the country that would just be nervous having that many, kids and young adults in their homes. And especially like, I wanted to get your take on this too. When Tyler started playing, he was a minor, correct? He was like 17.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So at that point, you're still kind of in parent mode and you're kind of, evaluating who their friends are and all that stuff and making sure they're on the right path and all that. What were kind of your initial impressions of everyone in the spike ball community, and like how much trust did you kind of have that, things were on the up and up with with everyone there, that you could, trust them around them and they'd be good influences and all that stuff?
Yeah, it was very quick. It happened very quickly because the first tournament, we met so many wonderful people right there that, we thought right away, like, this is great. I mean, and just people hanging out for how many hours just playing this sport. It's like when I was growing up, I would be doing some other things instead of playing spike ball. And I'm thinking, all right, 17-year-olds hanging out all day on a beach playing a sport. There wasn't drinking. Not people drinking all over. It was just like a family atmosphere. You had other parents there. You had, just people who were just there for the sport and just respectful of each other right from the get-go. It wasn't like they were, they were competitive, but it was just a great atmosphere. So it wasn't like the first tournament, I would say. And then, you meet a couple of good people right off the bat, and then you're hooked. There's a lot of people out in spike ball. So
I mean, that's great that you even use the word hooked yourself, as someone who, wasn't even playing at that time. And it is cool. Like, again, like it seems like you built up so much trust so quickly, and
playing at that time.
Yeah, right. But it seems like you built up enough trust quickly enough to be like, all right, we're gonna fly across the country for this. Like, were they even 18 when you guys went to that nationals in 2014?
The first nationals, they might have been 18. I'm not sure. They were still teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were 18, but they were definitely teenagers still at that point. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like they were flying out there by themselves. We actually went with them.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, like I said, the people that we met were just awesome people. So it was just right off the bat, we made so many friends, especially at the first nationals, because I can't remember talking to a lot of people at Summer Spike, which is the first big tournament. We pretty much hung back to ourselves, my wife and I, and sort of watched. But nationals, we actually were talking to a lot of people and just got to know everyone, and it was just really great. So yeah, the community is just such a great community, and I haven't really met people that like made it a bad day because they were doing this or that. It's just like every tournament we go to seems the same. It's like everyone's great, they're all competitive, but they're all friends, and no, like I said, the drinking, it's like not there. I mean, that was a big thing for me, because like when I was younger, that's what I would have been doing. And
right.
But like and I'm glad that it wasn't. It's not that kind of atmosphere. It's not that kind of scene. So yeah, it's great. It's a great community.
Yeah. Well, and I think age is such an interesting thing in our community too. It really doesn't seem to be a defining factor in who's really friends with who. I mean, especially in the early days like that, you had, Tyler, being like 18. I think I was like 24, or 25, and then Harding was like 33. But like
Oh,
everyone,
come on,
but
come on, stop bringing that up.
I know, but it just never seemed to be a consideration. Or like at that point,
Yeah,
like the first time I met Caleb Heck, he was like 14. But like
yeah.
we still hung out with him and we still played games with him, and it wasn't like, oh, there's the little kid. Like he's 10
Oh,
years younger than me. He's like a newly formed teenager, yeah, it just wasn't very like it wasn't clicky in that regard. There weren't like generations or anything like that.
no. I
And
mean, you're mentioning Harding. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, me. It's like I'm there. I'm a dad, but like I felt like part of the crew. It's not like I'm talking to all the top teams and all the top players, and they're all like, "Hey, what's this old guy there?" It's like I felt like one of the guys, And even
right,
though I've only played in 3 tournaments, all the last 3 summer spikes I was in, still my wife and I just in beginners after 3 years, still never made it out of the beginner bracket. But it's like we play like twice a year, so I didn't think we'd get out of the beginner bracket. But even though I've only played in 3 tournaments and I'm not a player, I feel like the guys, you and everyone else from Chicago and California and Lancaster, Boston, up in Massachusetts, and yeah, just everyone just treated me like a guy and not just like some dad. So it's nice.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a testament to how awesome our community is, and just how welcoming it is in general. And I'm glad that like at least from like a parent's perspective, it also seemed like that as well, because from my perspective, everything seemed, super welcoming, but I was a little bit on the older end. And I'm not looking out for the same exact things. And, when I entered the scene as well, like I was the one who was probably the biggest partier out of everyone there. And so, it seemed like our community was pretty tame in general. But I'm glad that, you kind of got that same vibe too, because especially as we're growing and we're introducing new people into this, and especially because Spikeball's initiative is so strong into getting this into PE classes and schools and getting this in with younger
Mm-hmm.
kids, we're going to start seeing our demographic coming in younger and younger and competitive at younger and younger ages. And like, we want that to be, a good place for them to be as well. Like, it certainly isn't a kids game or anything like that, but we don't want it to exclude kids or be some sort of unwelcoming environment to them as well. So I'm glad that that's still the vibe here, and I'm glad that you were able to trust that relatively quickly, and hopefully we can keep that going forward. I think that's important to the growth of the sport for sure.
Oh, definitely, and I definitely see at the tournaments now they have a lot of the youth. In the beginning they didn't really have that many, and now it seems like they all have the youth division.
Hmm.
And a lot of them, some of them, you look at the I guess roster, I don't know what you call it, of all the teams that are going to be playing that day, and you see the youth division is just huge sometimes, and that's great.
Yeah, didn't they like break 32 teams at New Jersey last year? It was like the largest youth division, but it was like
That
40 or
yeah,
something like that. It was wild.
that was that. Yeah, they had a whole section of the beach just for the like the youth, and that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope to keep seeing that growth there. I mean, I think college is like the immediate future. I think high school is there as well, and then all of this goodwill that's gone into elementary and middle school is just gonna like pay off to boot down the road. And so I'm excited to see where all that goes, and
Yeah, so
it,
much, so much growth. I mean, in the beginning, let's say before the college
mhm.
and before high schools, going into all the schools, elementary schools, and doing that. I mean, it was taking off to begin with, but once they started hitting the colleges, I mean, you see how big it is now. It's crazy. I
I
mean, I'm
know.
not that big into it. It's sort of like college basketball, even though it's huge for a lot of people. I don't watch the college basketball. Some people like it better. A lot of people like it better
Hmm.
than the NBA. But and I don't watch the college. Maybe because I don't have a horse in the race. I don't know. But it's like I don't, and I know how great they are, and I know how big it is. Like it's incredible how like fast they've grown in the colleges, and it's perfect because they need just like intramural sports and like anything else. It's like here you go. Here's a great intramural sport or whatever that you can join in, and get a bunch of people together, and it's right. I don't know how huge it is, but like pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is really big, and it helps when some of these already established players are in colleges, because you
Mm-hmm.
see them pass along their skill to all these new players, and all of a sudden someone that picked up the game a year ago is already as good as someone who's like been playing for 3 years and entered a bunch of
Yeah.
tournaments. And it's just like it's that it's the power of clubs. Like I always, said that in the early days, especially with Origin. I was just like, this is how everyone's going to get better. Like we're going to need to have good people and then facilitate other people learning from the good people. And like I was a product of that. Like I was not very good in 2015 when I first started, and by the end of 2015 I was pretty good. And then in 2016 I was real good.
Yeah, you guys had that. I mean, you guys with a. I don't know if you were the first with the club. You might have been, but you were the first. Were you the first with the club?
Yeah. I think officially, yeah.
But you were definitely first with a club that practiced together and had it organized. I mean, there were other clubs. I mean, maybe not. I mean, Chico obviously is the people watching from Chico be like, you kidding me? We were the first ones. But I mean, I don't know. I just remember how organized you guys had it.
Yeah. No. And
did as well, but I know you guys had really organized with practice and joining and everything else.
Yeah. No. And that's what we were trying to emulate, and it was cool because at that point, spike ball was so new that that was it was like a company project. Like someone like that really wanted to see that happen was Scott Palmer, who's the COO. He was from Naperville, and he knew Tom Cortese really well. And he kept telling Tez, he's like, you got to start a club out of Chicago. We know you guys have a good group of kids, and like we want to start making this a thing. So like you guys need to organize, and then if you guys do it, then it'll make other people start doing it. And that's when we did it, and then you saw Atlas spring up, and then you saw Fear the West spring up, and then you saw Spicy spring up, and then that whole concept basically came to like, yeah, of course we should be doing this in colleges too. It was just that most of the players at that time like weren't in college anymore. A lot of us were just out of college, and I wish that I had that back then. I mean, I wouldn't trade my experiences playing club volleyball at Indiana for anything. They were great, but we tried to start a spike ball club there, but it was 2010, 2011. It was just too early. The company was too new. No one knew what it was at all. And, we got a couple of people to come out, and we got to 4 nets or something like that. But then all the freshmen left, and then it was just us. And so we gave up. And it's just cool that these things are like sticking now. And especially when you start saying like, hey, come join us. This guy's really good. Like he's been on the podium at Grand Slam events, and he's going to be the president of our club, and he's going to teach us a bunch of stuff. And then you find someone that's really passionate to pass that along to right when he graduates. And like you've seen these things kind of build up, and now all of a sudden there's opportunities to literally compete on ESPN with your club. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. It's like I said, I don't know. I don't watch it as much, the college. But it just seems like, from what I see on, the spike ball, Facebook stuff, that it's growing like tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the growth of it's been big in terms of like numbers of clubs, size of those clubs, but you're seeing it, drip into competitive play too, where you're seeing all these players out of Texas, they're like setting the meta right now with like the power of the reverse cut and all that stuff too. It's wild. Like Grant, no one knew who Grant was until he competed on ESPN.
Right?
And then everyone knew who he was the next year because he was just really good. And then everyone knew who Frederick Hinkle was, like all of us. And then, people kind of knew who Payer was, but then all of a sudden it was like, oh, check out this Buckman kid. Oh, check out Warren Foote. And so everyone all of a sudden knew everyone. It was just cool to see.
Which is, I'm sorry if I don't know the names of the people. Was it Three Crowns?
Yeah, that's that was Warren Foote and Buckman.
Right, I saw them in Utah, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, I was too.
They were awesome, and the college guys, right? And they're just coming up, and I've been watching the highlight videos of serving. I know they're highlight videos, so I mean you could have a bad day and have 3 good serves, but I mean some of the serves I've been seeing, you said reverse cut and just regular cut and jam serves and fast as hell and low and just like amazing. Like I've been around Tyler and PJ in their tournaments, so I know like over the years how great the serves can be. But like I'm watching some of these. Like I watched one of the tournaments I saw Caleb serving, and the way it came off the net, like so low and fast. I mean, I've seen fast serves, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it came off so low and so fast. I'm like, what the hell? It's like, how is anyone getting that? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking forward to, but I am anticipating, having to face this new arsenal that Caleb clearly
Yeah.
has. Like, he seems to have really figured something out here that's just wild. I mean, he was already an amazing server beforehand. He already applied enough pressure to me in serve receive as it is. But he seems like he's just on another level right now. And it seems like a lot of people are kind of developing that right now. I guess, obviously you're just kind of watching it, and you haven't been to the tournaments to see them in person. But what's your take on the like watchability factor with the way that this is going right now? I mean, I know this is a big concern where people are calling for big rule changes, but you kind of have the arc of time. You've watched all the way since
Yeah.
2014, and you've watched the sport develop as it is and get a lot faster and faster and faster. Um, do you think at this point it's starting to get problematic, or no?
I don't think so. I think you've talked to Tyler and you've talked to everyone about just does the serve just make it not as good because the defense can't keep up. You've always said that just have to improve your defense, and I think it's just the same old thing because I think that the serves are getting better. Obviously, I've seen serves on Facebook. People have been posting the highlight videos and incredible. I mean, incredible that reverse cuts and everything else. But I think defense will just step up, and yeah, I think it's still just as much. I would enjoy going to the tournaments and watching them as much as I ever have. Um, so yeah, I don't see anyone not watching because of the serves. Maybe you get some people that won't, but more people will watch because of the serves. So I think it's like just as watchable as before for me. Anyway, I wouldn't like not watch it. I don't think it's like changed at all. Just
Yeah.
people I don't know. Like people that they've been naming people on, that's showing the people on the videos. I'm like, I don't know that guy. I don't know that guy. Even at the tournaments in Utah, I'm like, who's that? But by the end of the tournament, you sort of knew who they are because of the way they played. So just a lot of new people that sort of have to, if everything stays good in next year, and I'm going to tournaments again. There's going to be a lot of people there that are at the top of the podium or near the top of the podium that I have no clue who they are, but they've been the guys putting in the work. All you need to do over this time, some people, put in the work and it pays off, and those are the ones that'll be, near the top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I've been pretty outspoken about that. That like I'm not opposed to seeing changes in the sport, but I'd like to see them done on the margins instead of trying to reinvent the wheel here. Like I think we need to stop apologizing for what we have and be proud of it. It's okay that serving's good. It's okay, and I think that we've proven over and over again that people adjust. Serving does keep tending to be a better way to generate breaks than defense, but one, at some point it's got to give, and two, yeah, I mean, I think because of who you watch play most frequently, aka your son, aka Fitzy, I think how possible defense is, and I think that people don't give that enough credit. Like they're and Alvino too, for that matter, and PJ's solid too, but I like the other ones are just more known for it, and I think that their effort is rewarded, and I think a lot of people don't put in the effort, and because they'd rather save their energy to like put it behind another really good serve, and yeah, I just think there's something missing. I think there's some of that like raw heart missing that like I see in players like Tyler, like Fitzy, like Alvino, like Jarrett. Who just go all out every single point defensively, even when it's not in their favor. And I
Are
look
you,
up to them. I'm trying to replicate that, and I'm not good at it yet. But I'm I'm looking at that, going like, that's what I need to be doing, not like, see, it's impossible.
yeah. No, I don't know what is on the other side because I like a lot of the stuff I watch are highlight videos. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of tournaments, so I don't know who's got the defense. And if those people who have those serves have the defense also, which I don't know if they do or not, but if they do, then that's what it's going to take. I mean, it's not just going to take a serve because the other team's going to have the serves, and they're going to, even if they don't have a serve, they could put away balls. And if you don't have the defense to go along with the serves, like I said, I don't know who those people are that do have the whole package because I haven't watched enough. but you get some people who've got that defense and the hustle, like an Ortega that and have the serves like they have, forget it. It's
Yeah.
gonna be tough.
Well, that's like so one player that is exactly what you're describing is Max Modell, who's returning now. Um,
Forget.
and like he's very good on defense and he's
Yeah,
making really smart decisions and then he's executing and he's also putting in a ton of effort. And on top of it, now he's got, a sick, disgusting lefty cut, like
yeah.
which we don't really have in this sport. We don't have a lot of like prominent lefties hitting it as hard as he does. And now he's reverse cutting it. And like I think that at some point, yeah, like you said, like it's going to take that complete package. Like you're going to have to be able to do,
And I think they have it.
all of it.
Yeah, I think they have it. I mean, if they're at Hilltop next year, if we come back, and other teams might too. That, like I said, I don't know who they are. I know they have the serves. I don't know if they have, whole package. But I mean, they've had defense all along Hilltop, and they've just gotten better. So I think they're the team to watch when we come back. Because they're putting in the effort now. They're working during the pandemic, and they're putting in the effort. Other teams are too, but they were good to begin with, and now they're just improving. So.
Yeah, well, and they're doing a good balance. They're not traveling to a bunch of these tournaments. They're traveling,
Right.
some they're competing more locally in masks, which I applaud them for too. Like
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the breathability. I haven't tried to do that, but I've just mostly been practicing by myself here. So that's something. But they're putting in the work. So I'm interested to see them come back for sure. They don't seem like they're going to be missing too much of a step here, which is crazy for like not
Not at all.
competing for 2 years. Like I don't understand how you would be, not at least a little bit behind. But I think all that work is going to be, in the end, rewarded, like you were saying, and kind of to that point, notably, Tyler has not been, going to these tournaments and competing as much. PJ's gone to like one or two, but Ty hasn't. Is there any insight that you can give to us here on kind of what he's doing behind the scenes? I know he's doing a lot of woodworking stuff,
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to help his reverse cut. So I'm curious.
yeah. He's got his woodworking he's doing. He's got a girlfriend that lives a couple of states away. He visits, and he's got a job besides the woodworking. So he's been doing that. I mean, he's played, but not as much probably as other people. So, come next year, if the season comes back, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
To say the least, yeah.
It's scary when you say things like if the season comes back, and it's scary because
It should.
I have the same exact thought. I'm just sitting here going like, we usually start in March. Like, do we really think this is going to be over by March? I have no faith that it'll be over by March.
I mean, I'm thinking the same thing with my school. I mean, I'm hoping this is the only year we're doing this. I mean, with the kids in kindergarten, they're 6 feet apart wearing masks and can't play. So it's like, it's tough to, and the learning is more difficult. Not a lot of hands-on. I mean, it's hands-on, but not as much as it used to be. So, I mean, I'm hoping this is the only year we're doing this, but I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it might not be. But come next year and September, we might be in the same boat. I really hope not. And I don't, I think the spike ball season, if it doesn't start in March, it'll at least be here. Like this year, we were hoping the whole year that it was going to happen and never happened.
Yeah.
I think if next year, if we don't have it in the beginning, and just like this year, they would plan stuff, I think it'll turn out, at least if it's not in the beginning, at least it'll come back sometime during the year. Hope in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I certainly hope for that too. I mean, I think that, as someone who was on the board when all of this was going down, and we were like, all right, we can't start the season in March, but if we move these things around, we can salvage the season. And then it was like, all right, that's not going to work. So like, what if we all start on June 1st? All right, what if we start in July? And then at some point it became untenable. But I think we learned a lot about how to compress a season and stuff like that. We've already done a lot of the work. So if we decide like, all right, all the tournaments are in the same place as they were last year, which by the way, this is not like, for anyone listening, this is not like what's happening or anything. I'm speculating for sure. But like, if all the tournaments are going to be the same weekends and in the same places, we kind of know what we can do. So I think that's important. We've kind of learned that flexibility. And I think the real challenge is also going to be like, what do we do about premier status at this point?
Yeah.
because no one qualified this year, so we can extend everybody's. But then a bunch of people got really good in this off season, and so does someone like Ryder have to wait to qualify through the advanced bracket? And if what if there's a giant reservoir of these players that are at the top of advanced but should be in premier but aren't? How many players do you let in? There's some
Yeah.
players that also like are going to let their premier status just expire because they just they're not going to return in the same capacity. And
And
so
people aren't premier anymore. Are they allowed to play with their fathers in a tournament?
that becomes a question too. These are all the things that we're gonna have to figure out. But it's interesting, and it's all things that we talked about. We talked about a bunch of premier qualifying ideas, but those were based on missing the first part of the season, based on missing half the season, then based on
Right.
only having regionals and nationals, and then not having anything. And so that's
Yeah.
that's something we'll have to kick down the road again. But
It'll
there's
be. I think it'll. Unfortunately, like you said, I don't know about March. I mean, March will be here before you know it, and like it might be sort of like last year a little bit. I think you'll be trying to fit more of it in a little bit further down the line, but maybe not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's hope it's more normal than
Yeah.
I'm picturing it here. Because boy am I sick of not playing. That's for sure. I would love to
Yeah.
see things return, and I'd love to see a winter tournament get put on. I just have no faith. I think things are going to get so much worse in the winter, and
I don't know.
I think we're all not ready for that.
Ian's not around anymore. Well, not around, but
Right.
he was the flurry guy. So, but I don't think it'll be ready. Even if Ian's threw a flurry right now, I don't think it can happen.
Yeah. No.
In
I think
this winter.
exactly. No. Unfortunately, I don't think that's quite there yet.
And although, just one thing, I just want to.
Yeah.
I had a thought, and I'm old, so I'll lose it. As far as like the nationals and everything, it was canceled, but we have a nationals happening this weekend. That is not the official nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched much, but it is a national, so maybe who knows? It's going to be streamed, so I might be tuning in and watching some. It should be some good action anyway. Great teams showing up, so I might be tuning in to that one a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm like so conflicted on that. 'Cause like, I've been outspoken on this. Like, I don't want to support it. And I don't want to give them, some indication of like, if I'm tuning in live and they have, 300 people watching, I kind of want to vote with my viewability there. But I also will want to watch the games at some point. So maybe I'll check them out on YouTube later. I don't know. I'm so conflicted about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's people. And anything can happen. I mean, it's been great so far this year as far as like great. I shouldn't say great. It's been safe. I mean, as far as we know, right? They've had some tournaments and everything's gone okay, but it doesn't have to go that way. And I'm hoping that people I love going to this tournament, people I care about, So,
yeah. Well, and again, like
my son, but other people, and it's sort of like hope everything is safe,
Yeah, I mean, the real thing has just been like I'm more okay if we're all going to be like, okay, we can compete locally. Like, I'm practicing with people that are around the Chicago suburbs with Origin, like, and I'm not practicing frequently. I'm practicing in lower numbers so that we limit exposure and all that stuff. But I think it just becomes different when you start going like, hey, everyone come from every state, like, and but Utah is safe. Don't worry about it. It's like, well, right, but we're inviting everyone from everywhere, and they're all going to get on planes, and then. Also like as a part of it, like it was a cool idea, but I think it just really missed the mark in terms of, limiting exposure here. Like they were like, okay, so we need a bunch of people to qualify for a premier. So we'll put a bunch of these, regional tournaments up and you can qualify for nationals there. And then it encouraged a bunch of teams to travel around the country right before then. So like for weeks leading up to this, everyone's been increasing their exposure and increasing their circles. And then they're all going to come together for 3 days. And 3 days is also problematic. And I say that as someone who's begged for tournaments to go to a 2-day format for 3 years. Like I've won a 3-day tournament since probably 2016.
I know.
So, I'm so conflicted on it. But I mean, I hope that everyone, takes the proper precautions. I hope everyone has fun. I hope everyone's safe. And we'll go from there.
And as much as I wanted Worlds to happen this year, I thought, Spikeball did what they should have done. I thought it was a great, a tough choice, but the right choice to sort of cancel.
I
But
know.
oh man. I mean, all the growth they've had, a world,
Hmm.
that would have been incredible.
Well, it's crazy too because you think about worlds and that qualifying process. Like only 10 players are gonna get to represent Team USA, and you think about who was up in the running for that this year at the beginning
Yeah,
of
with
this
all the
year
new
when you were
players.
qualifying, and now you look at who could be up there competing for it,
Yeah,
and that pool has gone from this to like this. Like it is
right. Yeah,
large in comparison. So I'm super interested to see how it all pans out. And I mean, also hopefully, like we also get to run it. Like we don't know how things are going to look here, let alone the rest of the world.
yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, hopefully things get better before they get worse. But
Yeah,
um,
I was saying before, like when they were still trying to have nationals, how different it was going to look this year.
mhm.
I mean, you had obviously players not playing and other players like really stepping up. So this would have been the it would have been so different from other years, like completely different. I think if they would have like just gone with the regional to nationals.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, especially yeah. I mean, like you said, with like more people, like a little out of practice versus these, road warriors that have been playing the whole time, like
Mm-hmm.
and keeping
Yeah,
up with, serves and stuff like that. Like I've always said, like my greatest asset is the fact that I play so much. Like I have a lot of
yeah,
matchup knowledge, but I have no matchup knowledge against a cut serve, let alone seven different cut serves against top players that I'm going to play against.
yeah,
And like, with a cut serve, like, when I had to learn to defend Tyler's cut serve, it was different than Dan McPartland's, and then that was different than Drucker's, and then that was different than
yeah.
Preston's. Like, and so now having to learn all of those at once is going to be a little bit more daunting, but I welcome it. Like I definitely would love to, not be in my basement practicing or not just be playing in these smaller groups here in Chicago. So I look forward to it for sure.
So
But in the
so
meantime, just secretly grinding here, just doing my thing.
so next year, right? We the season starts and they let's say they go full season.
Hmm.
What are you doing? Are you doing 20 tournaments? Are you doing 5 tournaments? What are you playing? Getting out as much as you can?
I will confirm that it'll be somewhere between 5 and 20. Five will be way
Okay.
too low. 20, I mean, I tried. I mean, I did 18 that one year. I did all
Yeah.
18 tour stops and regionals and nationals. That was 20. I said I'd never do that again. I took that break in the middle of last year. That was well needed. I'll probably compete at a lot of them. I'll probably go to a couple and not compete,
Hmm.
um, just to like save my body a little bit. But I
Right.
mean, it really depends. I mean, I'm sure that I'll play, a decent number, with a regular partner, and then I'm sure I'll pick up people along the way, and some of that'll be like, well, I really wanted to play with this person, and this is the one that they can do it, so I'll go to it. But
Hmm.
I'll definitely be as invested as ever, if not more, and I'm trying to also just be doing content in between and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I'll be everywhere for sure. But
Yeah.
definitely, like, I mean, trying to play the entirety of a season is very daunting at this point.
Yeah.
It's just getting harder and harder, and the game's faster and faster, and it demands more and more of you. And if you show up at 80%, you can't win the tournament anymore. Like, I can
And
I can say in 2016 that Dylan and I showed up to some tournaments at 75 or 80% and still won them. Um, and you just can't do it anymore. It's not possible. It's not even possible to
and
podium if you do that. So like you have to be in top-notch shape.
it costs money to travel to 18 tournaments as well. So
It sure
you
does,
know
but
that.
luckily, luckily, it's people like you that really make these things possible. Like my expenses when I go to New York are a lot lower because I don't, if I stay with you, that there's no hotels. You've driven me to and from the airport. That's
Yeah.
saving $50 Ubers here and there. I mean, it all adds up. So I mean, yes, I mean, just like thank you in general for that. You've probably saved me
No, you're
thousands of
welcome.
dollars in my spike ball travels over the
Well,
years, and that's before
I
buying
doubt.
dinners and all that. Like you're just the man.
Well, I doubt it's that much, but I mean, it's the spikeball community too. I mean, I'm sure you've gone no matter what tournament you've gone to, whether it's Lancaster or wherever. There's always someone willing to right put you up and
Hmm.
let you sleep on the floor, let you sleep on the couch, whatever. Right? It's a lot of people like that. And
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the best part, and like they're a large part of what allows me to do what I do. Like I think one year I like tallied up my expenses in like flights specifically, and it really wasn't as bad as I think people thought. I think it was the year I did all eight. Yeah, I think it was 2018. I think I only spent 32 or $3,500 on flights, which like really isn't that bad when you start boiling it down. Like, and I think it would have been less. Like, I think I started off the year with an $850 flight because I tried to game the system. I thought a flight to California would go down from 450, and so I bought it. Like, I wound up buying it 2 days before, and there was like one flight left. That was like literally it, and I spent like $850 on it. It was horrible.
From what I remember, that wasn't the only time you wait until the end. Like you used a few times, you said.
Yeah, well, right, but usually I don't get burned that hard. Like, a lot of times it's like, darn, it went from like 250 to like 350. Like, okay, I guess that's different. Or like, I was hoping to get like 150, but I'm paying 200. Like, that one was brutal because it was like $400 more. But I digress. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, one, I think, it was just great catching up with you. I think, people probably got a pretty good sense of who you are and stuff like that. One thing we're kind of asking everyone here is, if you had to change one thing, what would you change? Everyone's got their opinion on something. I know you're kind of on the touch less, things will work themselves out.
Yeah.
But I think there's always room for improvement in these things. Like, even if it's minor, what would you kind of touch?
I mean, they've talked about scoring lately. I think that's fine. I don't think they need to do that. Change. I don't. You got me on this one. I can't think of things.
Are you? Well, I'll give you one.
I can think of things. I just can't think of anything that
right.
that I would want to change about spike ball. I mean, I think the tournaments are run really well. I think the way they were doing some of the pool play, I think near the end was better, right? They changed it the way they like the seating and different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had smaller pools and we were playing out like full matches.
I like that. It's not what I would change. Is what I think that they changed. Actually, I hope they keep doing more of, because I think that really worked.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of that for sure. And I think a lot of people are. And I think what we really got out of nationals was like we had so many matches to look at, and it wasn't like, oh, it's a pool play match that no one cares about, but it was recorded. Like I think making pool play matter is important, and when you play a full series, I think people care.
Yeah, and I guess you have the teams that in the past haven't played like full out in pool play to sort of make it so they need to is good, and maybe that's not the way they want to do it, but I think it's good if everyone's playing out, like as hard as they can in those games to make it count,
Yeah, for sure. Or just, harder than it was. I mean, when your incentive is there to actually like win your matches, I think that's huge. But when you play to 15, you just get so much variability. And then you end up with Tyler and PJ getting the 13 seed in Chicago and winning the whole thing. And, I say that as someone that's won from the 9 seed, the 8 seed. I've had some low ones for sure. I think I made the finals with a 13 seed one time, but trust me, I was trying all those games. Like there was no saving of energy or anything like that. It just playing
and
poorly.
It doesn't make people happy when you're playing PJ and Tyler in the first round or something like that.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. So yeah, no, I think that's good, and I think that's something that we'll hopefully continue to expand upon. And I think that becomes more and more possible as the community continues to grow and we eventually get to a point where we're going to have to do 2-day tournaments, because I'd love to see pool play be Saturday and then have a champion and then maybe play out the first couple rounds of bracket and then do like top 16 or top 30 or top 8 on Sundays and make them more spectator friendly. Like I think that's kind of the direction I would like to see the tournament go, at least. And I think that becomes a lot more possible.
I think the problem with that is people work on Mondays. And when you have, if it's far away, like if it was Santa Monica, and I would take off on a Friday because I would take a personal day. because it's like, it's important to me and I'm allowed to take a personal day for things like that. So I would take off Friday and travel and then be there Saturday and leave Sunday and get home Sunday night for work on Monday. And it's tough for people that have to work to sort of do the Sundays also, especially if it's far from their home. So now this year, was Nationals going to be on Columbus Day weekend finally?
I don't really remember. Was it?
Because I'm always hoping it is, because I get a 3-day weekend, and this way I could spend more time on Sunday if they have things going on Sunday, and go home on Monday. And I thought this year they're finally going to do that, and then we didn't have it. But because it's tough. It's tough for people to stay on a Sunday. I know you would like it that way, and a lot of people would. And maybe people can do it and take off on Monday, but I'm already taking off on the Friday. So it'd be hard for me to take off on Monday as well. So
yeah, I mean, I would certainly like to put the Sunday things earlier in the day and maybe crown a champion around 2 or 3 o'clock, and have people have the option to take a red eye or something like that. But like in looking at newer sports and stuff like that, like a lot of them are esports and stuff like that. But people just do it. They'll whether they're competing or whether you're watching, like, one of these sports I follow a lot is Super Smash Bros. And they do championship Sundays, and their tournaments end at like 11 or 12 p.m. Or like 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. on the East Coast or something like that. And so you literally can't even get out. And it doesn't really seem to drive attendance up or down, but especially as our numbers grow, you're going to have more people locally coming to watch, as opposed, and then the people that are competing are the players who have a vested interest in staying a little bit longer. We start driving towards professional,
The Smash tournaments you're talking about, those are online, correct?
No, they're all in person. The one that I watch, the game is so old they have to play on the tube TVs. They can't even play it on the new ones. That's how old the game is. So they're in person.
All right, if you're ending at midnight and you go to sleep at midnight, you have to wake up at 6 in the morning. It's still 6 hours, but you're saying they're there and they still have to get home from there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that also speaks to, like, eventually once we start having that base of people, the idea is that the path to becoming professional in this becomes realistic, where, like, you're traveling for work, you're just traveling on Monday now, as an athlete, and maybe that means that your parents aren't going to be able to take as many days off, but I'm sure you would take a Monday off for nationals and maybe a Grand Slam or two.
But I couldn't if I could take a Monday off, but I couldn't make a weekend like a take off a Friday and a Monday. I couldn't.
Right.
So it's like, whatever, I'm just a parent. The players can do it, I guess, if they want to.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, that's been the main consideration that the main thing that everyone's always said in opposition to it. But as we grow, like, we're going to want to see even more play. And actually some of these tournaments that I'm talking about too, they have, 1,500 entrants, and they start on Friday. So you have to fly there on Thursday, and which is just wild. But we're not quite there yet. But things to dream about for the future.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Well, good stuff here. Love catching up and everything. Thanks for the quick update on Tyler and everything. Hope everything's going well with school and with the family and everything.
Well, it's nice.
Any parting words you want to leave the community with here?
No. I couldn't believe you sent me a text saying you want to be on your podcast. I was like, all right, I'm not sure who's gonna want to listen to me, but it was fun catching up with you too. I mean, I miss you like I miss everyone else. It's just like we used to picking you up from the airport. I got to talk to you, and it was always a pleasure. And now it's like we don't get to talk, we don't get to hang out.
I know.
So no parting words. Just hope everyone stays safe tomorrow and or Saturday or this weekend. And can't wait to see everyone again. And I'm hoping next year is a full year, and we'll see if I'm going to as many tournaments as before, but I'll definitely see people at tournaments. So thanks for having me on. It was nice.
Of course. I mean, we love to hear that. Hopefully we see you at a bunch of these, and I'm sure I'll catch you on the trail because I'll be everywhere, so I'll run into you at some point. And last thing we do, we always end with the guest giving their best let's go. So feel free to break the microphone here. I'll
get
fix
it.
it in post, but scream it.
I have to yell, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go!
Woo! Drew Cisek, let's go. Good stuff. All right, thanks, Drew. This was awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.